Here we are in season 5 of my podcast. But if you're watching this on YouTube, this will be season 1 of Creative Life in Motion. Now, I've changed the podcast name again from Ideas in Motion to Creative Life in Motion. And if you've been with me from the beginning, you know that this podcast was formally started as Bring On Balance, right? Bring On Balance. And then I discovered, really, is there such a thing as balance? And I began to question myself, and I began to think about how I named the podcast. And then I decided, well, I'm going to change it to Ideas in Motion, because Ideas in Motion is about bringing those ideas, those thoughts, those things that you feel like you need to do, and bringing them from your head into reality. And then lately, the last couple of podcasts that I recorded were done in February. And I've really moved into this. It's not just ideas in motion, because the ideas are part of it, but life is a big part of it. So I bring you Creative Life in Motion. And I feel like this is probably going to be the last time I change the name of the podcast. But then I'm thinking as well, like, I'm the writer and the producer and the owner of this podcast. If I change the name 20,000 times and you still continue to come hang out with me, then, it's not the name that matters. It's our connection that matters. So another thing that I previously did in the podcast was I write. I am a writer. That's what I do. And I would write out the podcast format, and then I would basically turn on the mic and read it to you. And I feel like it kind of comes through like that, like I'm reading you something. And that's not at all the vision that I had for what we do here together. It's my vision to just kind of sit with you and relax. And, it's like a BFF chat. We get each other. And so I decided to bring this Creative Life in Motion name back to it, because that's exactly where we are in this day and time is that we are all creative and we all have a life that's going in motion. So creative life in motion is a gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And those gaps will change. The seasons in which you're living in your life are going to change. Creative life in motion is going to look different in every season of your life. And on this podcast, we're just going to sit down. We're going to relax. I'm going to take a little bit of the structure away. Like, I'm not going to worry so much about, bringing to you a perfect script or a perfect writing. We're going to just let the conversation flow together. I'm going to always share stories and open toolbox up of things that have helped me, and particularly in things like body image, body confidence, living into one's worth, living into dreams, how to find time for yourself, release the guilt, and find this fusion of creative energy within yourself to just be into that person that you want to be now, rather than waiting till the right time. Because let's face it, there's no time genie out there. So you can say that I'm going to fill in the blank when I have more time, but when is that going to happen? I always have this vision of this video that I'm going to do where it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of like this. Okay. So I'm working. And then someone comes in and asks me, aren't we going to go for a walk? And I'm like, I'm working away. I'll do that when I have time. And then the other person becomes a time fairy and they're like, no time for you. And anyways, it's a bad example of a quick stand-up, show, which to mention show, My Body is My Home, is going to the Kelowna Fringe Fest. So that's been a huge thing of an example of creative life in motion. I never, ever expected myself to be doing that. Not, I don't know, like I did, but I didn't. But I've allowed that project to take a journey of its own, so to speak. I mean, you have to be part of the process. Like I have been actively moving the manifestation, right? So there's a couple of different things that we're going to cover in episodes in these podcasts is like how to really take hold of that thing that you want to do. Maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's getting in shape, maybe it's writing your own show, maybe it's being a speaker. And maybe it's being the best cook or the best mom you could be, or the best pet trainer or whatever it is. There's a vision that you don't have time for, that you push it off your to-do list continuously. And it feels worse to do that than it does to let somebody else down, only it's accumulation, right? So the people that I'm blessed to be surrounded by really understand the value of giving to others, the value of people pleasing, if you will. I always love to give more than I receive. I think it's human nature. But when we continuously put ourselves off, our dreams off, our health off, we're not going to be able to show up in the way that that person standing in front of you deserves. Because little by little, we start to crumble. And, so creative life in motion has a new look and a new feel. And I've also started doing this via video. So if you're just listening to the audio right now, then know that you'll find this on YouTube as well. I'll put the link in the show notes to the YouTube channel. And the first episode that's going to come out is kind of like a remake of the first episode I ever did because it's the most downloaded episode. It's called Bring On Balance. So we're going to debunk on that first episode. Is it balance? We're going to talk about what that actually is, what it feels like, if it even exists. And I'd love to hear your take on that too as we dig in. So I look forward to hanging out with you on the next episode and see where this next season brings us. Some of the other things that we're going to be talking about this season are like burnout. And is it burnout or is it hormones? The things that I wish I would have paid more attention to in my 40s. Lots of different things like, limited belief patterns, how to access a lot of quiet. We're going to talk about the power of walking. I recently did this walking challenge and we were like kind of like beta testing it and it should be ready in the fall. There's so many powerful benefits of walking and this isn't like a weight loss program. I look forward to welcoming you here on to season 5 of this podcast. Bye for now. Talk soon.